So, sir, tell us more about what Virtual for it does and what are its expertise, which sector it caters, and its product and services.
Sure. Thank you for having me this morning. So let me start off by just giving you an introduction into Virtual Forest, what it is that we set out to do when we set this company up about almost 3 years ago now. So Virtual Forest specializes in motor control solutions exclusively, motor control and human interface solutions, and we exclusively work on technologies which help reduce emissions. Now, this is either by reducing the energy consumed by certain home appliances. We're also working towards goals like the electrification of mobility and other opportunities that help reduce energy density and consequently emission. So our mission and our I would say our vision statement is motor control solutions for the journey to net zero. Now, the journey to net zero has a couple of, I would say, well-established pathways which have been designed, which are agreed upon by most people. So the first pathway being energy efficiency. This is both residential and industrial energy efficiency, and this is also the first pathway that we started doing work in. So the first application that we went after was air conditioning. Uh, Specifically split air conditioners for residential use in India. And we started working on a technology for this particular application. So we now have a solution for inverter air conditioners in mass production since quarter last financial year. And we are manufacturing products ranging from one ton all the way up to 3.2 tons at this juncture. So this was the first market that we started doing work in, and the reason we picked this application was because it had an existing market in India. At the time, over 55% of air conditioners sold in India were already inverter air conditioners, and that number is, some people think is close to 80% at the moment. And and this particular market, while it already was seeing large volumes, uh, was also an import substitution opportunity. And from the get go, we were required to compete against Chinese imports, and that meant us working very hard with some of India's blue chip aircon manufacturers to first of all reach a price benchmark that was workable for them. This price benchmark, of course, had to be a very competitive product price, but also perhaps improve costs of support, integration, iteration, whatever the other activities that were involved are. So that's where we started. We've been in mass production now for almost a year, and we have a huge quantity in the field and performing very well. The second application that we went after in energy efficiency was BLDC ceiling fans. Now, BLDC ceiling fans are still, a very small single digit percentage of the overall fan mix in India, and and this is a market which is set to really see hockey stick growth starting in January of next year. The reason being that India has recently adopted the B star rating system for BLDC ceiling fans also. They will not have to have mandatory star rating starting from December 31st. While the notification was ratified in July of this year, industry was given time to liquidate the existing stock by December 31st of this year, and the first January onwards, non-star rated fans will no longer be sold, and that indicates a huge change because the current energy efficiency norms of fans, a five-star rated induction motor fan consumes about 55 watts at level 5 full speed. The new legislation will require that a one-star rated fan can consume a maximum of 50 watts. So that means anything above one star at the moment will most likely be shifting to BLDC, and in a period of time, even one star will have to get to a lower wattage. So is a real this is a real positive move in the direction of energy efficiency, and also like something that something that's going to help this market grow significantly. So these two applications I've talked about, air conditioning and ceiling fans, are important for a couple of reasons. One is, of course, both of these markets are currently large markets in India. We have a large aggregated demand locally, and both of these applications are going to grow a large amount over the next decade and more. Currently India's residential energy mix is such that only 13% of residential energy is with air conditioning, is consumed due to air conditioning. Around 25% of India's residential energy is from ceiling fans. By 2030, this is going to be the opposite. Only about 12 or 13% will be ceiling fans, but air conditioners will be responsible for 30%, if not more, of India's residential energy consumption. So it's very important that this energy mix is achieved by in the most efficient way that possible, and that's something that we're working towards. The other point is that as we're going to be consuming such large quantities of these appliances, it's very, very important that we make sure that the value addition for this demand, which is generated within our country, also remains within our country. And that's a very, very big part that we're trying to help achieve. Um, Developing, manufacturing, and supplying these electronics locally is a significant step, towards capturing that value within our borders, and that's something that we're working towards as well. So the energy efficiency path that we're on right now, we have several other applications which are in customer validation, which will enter production this year. That includes solutions for inverter washing machines. That's uh, that's a project which will go into production in Q4 of this year. We have solutions for solar pump controllers, which will also enter production this year. And finally, we have a solution for inverter mixer grinders as well, uh, again, which will enter production this year. So these applications so far have been served exclusively by imports, and we're now able to make sure that these are designed, developed, and manufactured in India, making a significant difference. The and this particular technology pathway, the energy efficiency pathway, is something that we continue working on. And in the latter parts of this decade, we hope to be doing significant work in industrial applications as well as working on new applications and newer, more efficient, more cost-effective designs for residential applications as well. The second energy pathway is the electric mobility. This is another area that we are doing significant work in. Um, of course, the first application that we are working on at the moment is for two-wheelers, a motor drive to serve the low-speed two-wheeler segment. Is already in validation with some of India's large motor manufacturers, and that's a product that we will be going into manufacturing, by Q4 of this year. Significantly moving on in development, we have two uh, two other projects. One which has recently been announced just a few days ago. We have won uh, the the contract to develop the global platform for 3 kilowatt to 15 kilowatt controllers. This will be for high speed two wheelers and light logistics three wheelers. So we have won a contract to develop the global platform for NXP, which is the world's largest automotive semiconductor manufacturer, and Arrow, the largest distributor of components as well. So this is a significant win and a great validation of our capability, in this particular space. And we're working with these companies to develop a controller which will be distributed exclusively by them for a period of 3 years, and the IP will remain with Virtual Forest. And moving past that, we are in development also for a controller for medium logistics applications. This will be for 1 ton plus payload. This is a significant technology project as well, which we will be announcing in the near future. So these applications and other applications in certain other specialist requirements, like for certain agricultural equipment, like uh, spraying machine, like crop dusters, etc., are things that we're working on, apart from this. So these are our two current live technology pathways. There's a third pathway that we hope to start doing work in towards the latter part of this decade, and that will be motor control solutions for applications like direct air capture or large scale air purification. These technologies are, these applications are still in their infancy in India. However, I think places like Delhi are already seeing their first large air filtration towers and things of that nature. These applications are much more prevalent in China and few nations. And we believe that this is potentially another huge application for motor control. And that's an area that we are tracking and hope to be doing business in the latter half of this decade. So that's the virtual forest in a nutshell. If I could tell you, the overall the overall strategy has been to start a business and operate in segments that will allow us to create a sustainable business, and that's why we went after import substitution opportunities in markets that are already existing. Uh, Home appliances like air conditioners, followed by ceiling fans, which two of which are already in mass production, and we're doing large volumes for both those applications. So we started off over there, set up a business that is generating revenue, and this has given us the leeway to now start differentiating ourselves in applications which are somewhat future applications, but are helping us create an IP edge rather than a pure cost advantage. And so that's how we're trying to evolve our business.
So, sir, as you told, Virtual Forest is a 3-year old company. So, what are the challenges you faced as a new startup in the market, and what opportunities you saw? So, you told us about opportunities that were there in the market, like the industry trade. What were the other opportunities and challenges?
Um, well, we the challenges, of course. I mean, I'll start off with those probably. So, um, we did certainly face the challenges that any startup in a segment like deep technology, specifically manufacturing. While we don't manufacture directly, this is a big part of our business is the manufacturing function, which we get outsourced by large EMS companies in our country. So, any startup that's trying to operate in the space, a significant mainstream funds in India, that was a challenge. We had to, certainly fortunate to meet our part a company called the Pino Auto Electronics. They were, they were a company that believed in what we were trying to do and invested in Virtual Forest, invested in the seed round in Virtual Forest on when we were pre-product, pre-revenue, and it took a company to the space to do that. So, and we were very fortunate in that way. As far as the opportunity, um, I put that and probably beyond our India's opportunity really to become one of the manufacturing powerhouses in the world. We have a couple of key, a couple of key geopolitical uh, reasons for that to happen. And now it's up to Indian industry to make the most of that. Of course, the first is the fact that many countries and many customers now are seeking a more diversified supply chain. The China plus one policy is something that we believe Indian companies and certainly companies also located outside of India have adopted. Now it's up to India to make sure that we grab this opportunity with both hands and make sure that we get make sure that we get a large portion of that manufacturing opportunity that's shifting out of China. The second huge opportunity is also, at a very base sort of North Star level, our belief is that, climate change is going to be the key driver of technology over certain times and certainly beyond, maybe the next even. So it's something that we is something that we should work on. It's a technology problem and certainly something that we felt that we could contribute towards, and that's been the opportunity we've gone after. And it so happens that India is a market which is going to start consuming uh, large home appliances like air conditioning and air conditioners, refrigerators. I mean, of course, refrigerators, chillers, and the fact that we as a nation have probably the world's largest energy efficiency program, which is currently afoot, the BE standard and labeling program, and other interventions that the government's making. This presents a huge opportunity as well, because we have a technology change that has to happen, is happening, and it has to happen very, very quickly. And so far, that this change has been driven completely through imports, and it's an opportunity for Indian companies to fill that gap, and that's something that we do. So the opportunity is certainly make in India. The opportunity is certainly technology to to combat climate change, and just growing consumption that country presents.
So, sir, your product, which are currently in the mass production, generally caters to like air conditioning industry and fans. So, big manufacturer in those two fields like Daikin, Mitsubishi, or Ojandal, and Bajaj or Luminous, they have very integrated and in-house supply chain, both upstream and downstream. So, do you find it easy to enter their supply chain with your products and
Um,
solution?
no,
Yeah.
I first of all, I'd like to just make a comment as far as what the companies that you mentioned as the large companies. The reality is, unlike a lot of other countries, the largest home appliance in India are Indian companies. Voltas has over 30% market share of the Indian air conditioning industry, residential air conditioning industry, uh, which is probably double its closest competitor. And as far as ceiling fans are concerned, Crompton has over 24% market share in the Indian ceiling fan industry. So the largest companies in the home appliance segment in India are Indian companies, which is, I think, a real matter of pride, because this is not something which is seen in other Southeast Asian countries, of course. In Southeast Asia, in most Southeast Asian countries, our findings have been that local companies present less than 20% of their appliance sales, and the rest is controlled by Chinese and Korean and Japanese majors. That's not the case in India. In India, it's closer to 50-50 in certain applications. And certain applications, of course, it's a lot more skewed, but that's the way it is. So yeah, and to your point, it is extremely difficult to become a part of these companies' supply chains. Uh, to begin with, an upstart who doesn't have an existing track record in the market, getting a company who will have to then tie their reputation and the performance of their products to you. That's a difficult sell for anybody in the market. But we've been fortunate that companies have given us an opportunity, and I think the good work that our team has been able to do on the technology side, and also certainly the service side, has helped us break in. So, now if you take Luminous, which is now RR Cable, we are supplying ceiling fan controllers to them in large numbers. We also do some business with Bajaj through an intermediary, and on the aircon side and washing machine side, we're also supplying the largest companies in those segments as well. So it's been difficult. I mean, it's helped that over the last couple of years we've managed to create a successful track record of delivering certain technologies, which otherwise have been exclusively imported. So that's first of all, helped us network some extent. Like, we've had success, and now other people are willing to take a chance on us, and that's helped us in a very, very big way. And position Virtual Forest as somewhat of a market leader as far as motor control solutions are concerned, and we get opportunities now in adjacent areas as well. Things like our existing customers who buy products for, say, washing machine, aircon, etc., are now also offer us projects for their other product lines like mixer grinder and things like that. So that's how this part of the business is developing, and now it's also giving us a breathing room, and having help, and now that we have a bit of a track record in place, we also have the opportunity to now go to our clients with technologically differentiations as well, and that's the
So,
objective.
sir, you mostly supply controllers to the consumer electronics industry. So, where do you source your raw material from, and what are the challenges considering the geopolitical situation?
So yeah, I mean the shortages of semiconductors have been so well documented and have been mainstream news cycle for a very long time. I think everyone's clear, and also in people's daily lives they felt it is like you buy in 6 months now, or you have to buy what's available as far as laptops are concerned. You can't try and spec out the one that you want. So these things certainly have impacted. So the semiconductor shortages have been well documented, and people have experienced them in their daily lives as well. And that's something that certainly impacted us 2 years ago, and to some extent, this year as well. But I have to say that to a large extent now, I feel like the opposite. We might be headed in the opposite direction. We might be headed towards a glut. There is significant reduction in consumption. People have certainly overordered, and now we're getting scenarios where, oh, we have X semiconductor in stock. Do you have any requirement? This is a complete U-turn from what it was like a little while ago. So that certainly was a challenge. Now, in terms of where we are procuring our components from, look, I mean, there's no way around the fact that the component manufacturing ecosystem is mostly centered around China and Taiwan to a large extent, and we do also see some semiconductors coming in from Malaysia, but to a large extent, the ecosystem is set up in these countries in this region, and we are dependent on imports from these regions for our requirements. It's going to be some time before the component ecosystem is localized, and I believe that any sort of manufacturing investment in components and other infrastructure will follow the growth in aggregated demand. Now we have aggregated demand for applications like mobile phones and moving forward for air conditioners, etc. Now that's been to some extent the assembly of these products is now centered out of India to some extent, with the PLI scheme, etc., promoting further investment in the assembly of these two applications in India. Once you have a large assembly base in place, large enough assembly base in place, it's only going to make sense for the downstream raw material infrastructure to follow, to come closer to where the product is being assembled. And I believe that's the cycle that's going to be followed. So it's a matter of time. But having said that, there is still a pretty large component now of our BOM which is localized. At the most basic level, mechanical items like plastic items or say aluminum extruded components, etc. These are all localized. I mean, it doesn't make sense to import anything of this nature because there's a large enough manufacturing ecosystem in India, and and these bulky items have to be done here. Secondly, wire harnesses are also completely local now, and there are certain components, specifically capacitors, film capacitors, and few other smaller components which are also available locally. So just by virtue of the fact that something is being manufactured locally, a good percentage of the BOM gets localized. Semiconductors, etc. We are far from that, but we're headed in that direction, and I believe that in a decade or so, it's very likely that the component of uh, the local component of an e-bomb can increase significantly.
So, sir, as you mentioned about shortage of semiconductor chips in the market, so I was talking to an like owner of a cybersecurity firm, and he was saying that the chip which was costing rupees 1,000 in 2018 or 19 now cost 10 times more. So, is this thing adding cost to your final product, and how you are competing with the import well, in the terms of price?
Look, as far as okay, 10 times more is not something I've experienced, but certainly, 2018, looking at a 20%, in some cases, a 20% price increase happening in a couple of different, you know, a couple of different steps. But that's certainly the reality, and this price increase is something which has been a global phenomenon. So, so it's very likely that our competitors in other countries have also experienced similar sort of price increases, and and it's something that the market has had to absorb. I mean, I think the price of consumer electronics certainly has seen an upward trend. I wouldn't say it's sufficient to cover what price increases have happened. I think that there's been a certain lag between price increases to the end customer versus the input price increases, and that's meant a significant you know uh, effect on margins. Certainly, that's certainly been an impact that we've had to face. And now the current strengthening of the dollar is something which is impacting companies as well in this particular space.
So, sir, my last question is, what are your plans moving forward, and what will be your focus area?
Look, our strategy is very, very clear. We know what we want to work on, what we will be working on. It's motor control for solutions that will help us reach net zero. And we have also defined certain technology pathways. The first of which being energy efficiency, and the second being the electrification of mobility, and the third being applications for direct air capture, etc. So this is our guiding sort of strategy, and we'll be working on applications on these particular technology pathways. The one strategy that we will be certainly doubling down on, now that we are a self-sustaining and established company to some extent, is the fact that we are going to be working more on IP as our differentiator rather than just cost advantage as a differentiator, which to some extent we've had to do to start off with. And I like to look at it. I mean, an analogy that I heard very recently as well was comparing this particular industry to a marathon. When we started, we were very much at the back of the pack or the middle of the pack, and just had to compete with everyone. But as we develop IP that's differentiated, as we work on applications which are very new, where as we get the first mover advantage in a lot of spaces, we hope to pull away from this pack, and that's where we are. Currently, we're sort edging towards the front in certain areas, but we hope that over the next few years we will start pulling away.
So, best of luck for your future endeavors, sir. And sir, I want to just tell you that as we are B2B media, so we provide the new companies a platform to market their product in the industry. So we have many big clients in the semiconductor industry like Renesas, Infineon, ST Microelectronics. They regularly publish their articles and releases and PRs with us. So yeah, you can also do that. Any kind of publication in the form of articles and PRs is free of cost. So you will get a good coverage in the market through us. So that a kind of service that we offer to the new industry. So it was very nice and informative talking to you. So thank you for
Thank
giving
you.
your time to TimesTech. Thank you.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, certainly we'll definitely reach out to you with some more content about our industry.
Yeah. Thank you.